All right, let's dive right into an incredibly brief, but honestly philosophically massive piece of source material for today's explainer. We're looking at just a single sentence. But wow, it is a sentence that carries the weight of an entire worldview. It reads, "This is the book. There is no doubt about it, a guide for those mindful of Allah." In just 19 words, this text lays down an absolutely unshakable foundation.
To really wrap our heads around the density here, we're going to treat this explainer like a forensic dissection, anatomy of a declaration, deconstructing a foundational sentence. We'll be reading left to right, peeling back the layers of meaning. Every single punctuation mark, every capitalized letter, and every clause is doing some serious heavy lifting. We aren't just reading today, we're actively investigating the anatomy of a supreme declaration.
But before we break it all apart, we gotta pause and ask ourselves, how much power can a single sentence actually hold? I mean, how can a text establish immediate authority, total certainty, and a clear purpose right out of the gate? Think about the stuff you read every day, right? Most books, they give you a gentle intro. They kind of ease you into the subject matter. But this, it doesn't ask for your attention. It flat out demands it. So let's find out just how powerful 19 words can be.
Section 1. The Ultimate Declaration.
Now check this out. This is the book. Notice how that exclamation point immediately grabs you? It is definitely not some quiet, polite suggestion. The punctuation alone forces this hard, dramatic stop. It's like it sets up a definitive boundary, letting you know right away that you are stepping into a space of totally uncompromising significance before you've even gotten to the meat of the text.
And right here is where a simple little typographical choice fundamentally alters the whole game. Look at the capital B in book. By making this a proper noun, it signals that this is the definitive text. It's not just some ordinary manuscript you pull off a dusty shelf. That capital B literally elevates the text from being a bound, physical object to being the supreme authority, the absolute archetype of all books.
Moving on to Section 2, the promise of certainty.
So we read on to the very next clause. There is no doubt about it. And what's wild here is that this phrase completely refuses to negotiate with your skepticism. You know how usually an author tries to win you over? They build an argument chapter by tedious chapter, hoping to convince you to drop your doubts? Well, this source, it bypasses that entire process. The doubt is conceptually erased before your brain even has time to form it.
But if you look super closely at the source text formatting, there's something I find kind of ironic and honestly fascinating. Right after this monumental claim of absolute certainty sits a tiny footnote indicator, just a little number 1, quietly pointing to a scholarly notation. It's like even in this raw declaration of unquestionable truth, there's this little invitation to check the translation notes and context bubbling just beneath the surface. It perfectly grounds the absolute in the analytical.
Then, the sentence executes this incredibly elegant pivot. On one side, you have the nature of the text. No doubt about it. That is a static, immovable state of being, right? But then it shifts into the purpose of the text, a guide. And a guide is a highly practical, active, forward-moving concept. It transitions seamlessly from the realm of the absolute directly into the messy realm of human action.
Which brings us to Section 3, defining the target audience.
And here we hit the conclusion of the sentence, a guide for those mindful of Allah. Notice how the operational logic of the whole thing completely flips here. I mean, we started with a massive universal claim, right? This is the book. But now it transforms into a conditional promise directed at a very specific, carefully defined reader. The guidance isn't just handed out, it is explicitly unlocked by a specific state of mind.
Breaking down the mechanics, we see a crystal clear cause and effect relationship. Number 1, the text acts as a guide. Number 2, that utility is conditional. And number 3, the condition itself is that the reader must be mindful of Allah. So what does this mean for us analyzing this text? Well, it means it demands active internal participation. The book is absolutely willing to do the guiding, but only, and strictly only, if you, the reader, bring the correct awareness to the table. As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. How does a text starting premise of absolute certainty fundamentally change the way we read it? When a source flat out refuses to let you be a casual skeptic and instead requires a profound state of mindfulness just as the price of admission to its guidance, well, it completely rewrites the contract between the text and the audience.
Keep that in mind and always question how the very first words we read shape the reality we're about to perceive.